Palm Sunday entry. As the spring sun warmed the hills around Jerusalem, casting long shadows across ancient olive groves, a sense of anticipation filled the air. The city was preparing for Passover, its narrow streets already filling with pilgrims from distant lands. The scent of baking bread and blooming flowers drifted on the gentle breeze, while excitement hummed through the gathering crowds like quiet thunder. Jesus and his disciples approached the village of Bethphage, near the Mount of Olives, where the road began its final descent toward Jerusalem. The path wound through groves of ancient trees, their silver-green leaves whispering in the wind like countless gentle voices. Here, Jesus paused and sent two of his disciples ahead with a special task. "Go into the village," he told them softly, "and you will find a young donkey tied there, one that has never been ridden." His instructions were specific yet filled with peaceful purpose. The disciples understood that this moment carried deep significance, fulfilling ancient prophecies about how the Messiah would enter Jerusalem. As they brought the young donkey to Jesus, some of the disciples removed their outer garments and placed them on the animal's back, creating a makeshift saddle. The donkey stood quietly, seeming to sense the importance of its role in this unfolding story. Jesus mounted with gentle care, and they began their descent toward Jerusalem. Word spread quickly through the gathering crowds that Jesus was approaching. People began to line the road, their faces bright with hope and expectation. Some spread their cloaks on the dusty path before him, creating a carpet of honor. Others cut branches from the palm trees that dotted the hillside, laying them across the road in gesture of welcome and celebration. The afternoon light caught the swaying palm fronds, creating patterns of light and shadow that danced across the path. The scene was both triumphant and surprisingly gentle. No war horse or chariot, but a humble donkey carrying one whose kingdom would be unlike any the world had known. The crowd grew larger as they descended the Mount of Olives, their voices rising in ancient words of praise. "Hosanna to the Son of David," they called out, their words carrying both joy and desperate hope. "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." The phrase rippled through the gathering like waves on water, each voice joining the peaceful crescendo. As they rounded a bend in the road, Jerusalem suddenly came into view, its golden stones glowing in the afternoon light. The temple rose above the city walls like a mountain of marble and gold, its white stones catching the sun's rays. Jesus paused here, taking in the sight of the holy city. His eyes held both love and sorrow as he gazed upon Jerusalem, knowing what lay ahead. Children ran alongside the donkey, their small hands waving palm branches with uninhibited joy. The sound of their laughter mixed with the songs of praise, creating a symphony of pure celebration. Some scattered wildflowers before the donkey's feet, adding splashes of color to the tapestry of cloaks and palm branches that lined the way. The Pharisees in the crowd watched with growing concern, uncomfortable with the messianic implications of this celebration. "Teacher, rebuke your disciples," they urged, their voices tight with worry. But Jesus responded with gentle wisdom. If these were silent, the very stones would cry out. His words echoed the truth that this moment of recognition could not be suppressed. As they continued their descent, the path narrowed between ancient olive trees. The branches above created a natural archway, as if even nature itself was joining in the welcome. The donkey's steady hoofbeats kept a peaceful rhythm, maintaining the unhurried pace of this profound procession. The air was filled with the scent of crushed palm fronds and the dust of many feet, mingling with the fragrance of spring blossoms. Each step brought them closer to the city gates, closer to the destiny that awaited within those ancient walls. As Jesus approached the city gates, the contrast between this humble procession and the typical arrival of earthly kings became even more striking. Here was no war horse, but a gentle donkey, no army, but a crowd of ordinary people, no weapons but palm branches, no battle cries but songs of praise. Yet in this simplicity lay a profound revelation of what true kingship means. The streets of Jerusalem were lined with people drawn by the commotion, their faces a mixture of wonder, hope, and curiosity. Some asked, "Who is this?" The answer rippled through the crowd like a gentle wave. "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." Each time the answer was spoken, it carried notes of both certainty and mystery. As they moved through the narrow streets, the golden afternoon light created long shadows between the buildings. The sounds of celebration echoed off the ancient stones, creating a cathedral of praise from the very walls of Jerusalem. Yet amid the joy, Jesus remained peaceful and composed, his presence radiating a quiet authority that needed no outward display of power. Some in the crowd spread their hopes before him like the cloaks beneath the donkey's feet, dreaming of a military Messiah who would overthrow their oppressors. But Jesus came offering a different kind of freedom, a different kind of kingdom. His triumph would not be won with swords and spears, but through love and sacrifice. The palm branches waving in the gentle breeze would soon wither, and many who shouted Hosanna today would fall silent in the days to come. Yet this moment captured something eternal, the recognition, however brief, of divine love entering the human story in a way that would change everything. As evening approached and the crowds began to thin, the significance of this day settled over Jerusalem like dew. The sun's dying rays painted the city walls in shades of gold and rose, while the air grew quiet with the weight of things to come. Perhaps we see ourselves in the crowd, sometimes waving palms with full hearts of praise, other times struggling with expectations of how we think things should unfold, like those gathered along the road that day. We too might need to adjust our vision of what triumph looks like, learning to recognize divine presence in unexpected places. The peaceful rhythm of the donkey's steps reminds us that transformation often comes not in dramatic displays of power, but in quiet moments of grace. Jesus chose to enter Jerusalem not on a war horse, but on a humble donkey, showing us that true strength often wears the garment of gentleness.